everyone, Rose Wildsmith here, and in this video I'm going to do a sketchbook tour. In one of my previous videos I counted up all my unfinished sketchbooks and it was 56, which was a bit of a ridiculous amount, and so I decided that I was going to go through all my unfinished sketchbooks and try and finish some of them off. This was the one that was closest to being finished, so it didn't take me very long. I just had a couple of more pages to finish off and now I feel like it's finished. I actually started this sketchbook in 2017 so this is like an 8-year project. I got given this sketchbook when I went on a weekend painting workshop with my friend Moira Scott, and that was when I first got really back into painting a lot. Before that I was mostly into like textile art, and as part of the welcome package Moira gave us all a sketchbook. So this is a Sea Whites of Brighton sketchbook. It has held up pretty well over 8 years, and like I paint in it and I stick things in. The spine broke and it has had to be fixed with electrical tape. So this is just black electrical tape with a bit of washi tape over the top to make it look nice. This is actually a postcard that I stuck on the front, and this was a postcard that Moira gave me, and she, I think, printed it and then wrote Shine on it. Then I added the turquoise paint and the gold Posca pen and these little jewels, just like bit by bit over the years. So, but I really like the front cover. I don't think I've done anything on the back. The way that I work in this the way that I have worked in this sketchbook is that I have done lots of layers and I've done them over time. So I would do things and then come back weeks or months or even years later and add other things on top. So some of the pages I feel like they're a little bit overworked in retrospect, but it's all good learning. So this is the first page, and you know, of course, like I did this so long ago now that some of it is really hard to remember what I did. This is definitely a piece of jelly plate printed paper that I've stuck in, and I can see there's some journaling in the background, which is something I do a lot to start the pages. And it's the journaling that I did in this was probably something that I did actually at the workshop with Moira, because that was one of the things that she asked us to do, was do some stream of consciousness writing. I can definitely see Posca pen. This is Posca. I love Posca pens because they're so opaque, they can go over the top of everything else. And this page has definitely been overworked. I used to really like it, and then I came in and I did more on the top, and I don't know why I didn't just leave it really, but you can see this black paintbrush marks underneath. And this is something that I probably did in the workshop that I did with Moira as well, because she suggested to us, oh, if you've got paint left over on your palette, you can like put it in your sketchbook, and then that makes a nice start for a sketchbook page. And there's more journaling I can see under there. And then I think I've done like washes of different colours. This here is oil pastel, and this is Posca. Yeah, so this again is lots of different layers, and I feel like this side is a little bit overworked. So I can see there's brush marks underneath, again like in the previous page, the black brush marks. This is definitely Posca pen, these circles, and then there's a wash of another colour there. These purple lines are also Posca, and this is oil pastel. And this I feel is much less overworked, and I actually really like this because I feel like it's got a lot of movement in it. And you can see like this black mark is again something where I've had leftover paint from doing big paintings, and I've just done it really roughly because it's almost like cleaning off your brush, you know, and I really like the energy and the movement that you get from it. And then there's these, I think these are acrylic inks, because that is another thing we did in the workshop, was trying out acrylic inks and then like blowing them and getting them to move around. And so you get a bit of this like spattering. And then I don't really know what I was thinking. I can refuse this, choose. And it says, this is not a trap. And then I've scribbled out not a trap. I think I was just writing whatever was on my mind. But I do quite like this page. I felt like it's quite interesting. This looks like acrylic ink maybe, or high flow acrylics, this kind of leaf drawing. And I can see this red and orange underneath. That's acrylic ink that I've done the blowing again. And it's got Posca pen over the top. This is a bit of collage of some newspaper under there, and this is oil pastel, and then I've gone around the edge of it with the Posca pen. And these little white dots are also Posca, I think. And I like these sort of tracks, and I think it's just done with the paintbrush, like dabbing it like that. Interesting page. I got really obsessed with doing this like 4 letters with oil pastel taking up the whole page. So you might see this again, if not in this sketchbook, in other sketchbooks. It's something that I got really into for a while. And again, you can see the like scratchy marks with a paintbrush where I've roughly brushed the paint off. And here, I think this is gesso. It could be gesso, it could be white paint, but I've kind of like knocked back some of the things underneath, and that's a technique that I really like doing, because then you have these kind of windows where you can see what's going on underneath. It's almost like you put a veil or a fog of something over the top. And this is oil pastel, and these are, I think these were pens, and I was just like trying them out. I think I had some calligraphy pens, and then these are like fine liners, I guess. So in a lot of the pages I would just open it up and kind of doodle and just do something like, you know, this, and then I'd come back to it later and add more things over the top, and so you get these like funny little bits that yeah, but it all adds to the story, which I quite like. So this is another one with paint where I've used up paint that I was using on a painting, and this is really quite thick, so that's why I have this to cover it up, because I don't want the pages to stick together. But I really like the texture. You can sort of see the ridges. And I feel like if I was coming here and specifically thinking, right, I'm going to do a sketchbook page, what can I do? I would never start with this, but having your sketchbook as a kind of like dumping ground for paint that you are using on another project, you're much less worried about how it looks. And then when you come back to it later, it gives you something to respond to. So I actually, yeah, I think this was like yellow and red paint that was mixed together. And then I came back in and like added more red and orangey colours. And then I did this sort of like linked chain pattern all over the top. So it's very simple, but I really like it. I feel like it's quite effective. And I think at this time, I was also really interested in surface pattern design and like, yeah, just designing all over patterns. So I think that comes through in some of these pieces. I quite like this picture, this painting I did here of an eye. And at this stage, I was very afraid of drawing, so I would never think that I could do this. And I don't know what gave me the idea to do it, but maybe I was just kind of doodling or something and it came through. But I really like it. And you can see under here, there's one with the brown and one with the green. Those are blind contour drawings. And that was a way that I eased myself back into drawing, was that I allowed myself to do blind contour and not worry about the result. And I actually really loved the pattern that it creates when you do a blind contour drawing, because it's so organic and it's something that you can't plan for. It's, yeah, I feel like it's really nice. And I think that the thing with this sketchbook was this was a real changing point for me. I have got older sketchbooks than this that are unfinished. Sketchbooks that I've started before this where I didn't have this approach where I felt like I had to do one page at a time, and so I would just do one layer, and then if it wasn't that great, then I'd feel really down about it and be like, oh, I'm no good, I can't do this. Whereas in this sketchbook, I totally changed my approach, and this was very much inspired by Moira. She showed me her sketchbooks on this workshop, and the way that she would work in layers and like jump back and forth. And I found it really inspiring. So then it allowed me to be more free and then feel like it doesn't matter if I don't particularly like this, because I know I can always come back and add something over the top and like build it up until I actually like it. And it says here, I will, which kind of fits with what I'm saying. So that's quite nice. There's more of these little, I think they're the calligraphy pens, so I'm doing like another sort of pathway. So there's someone using a leaf blower outside, so I'm sorry about that. I think I might just stop until this leaf blower guy has finished. Okay, I'm back. Oh my goodness, that leaf blower went on for ages. I was losing the will to live a little bit. I decided to just stop doing this altogether and just go away and do something else and have some lunch and stuff. So, you may hear children screaming, and that's because there's a school playground just like downstairs from my house, so that's always like the background of my videos, so there's not really much I can do about that. But anyway, at least there's not the leaf blower, and I hope it's gone now. No, fingers crossed. So anyway, this page, it's interesting because you can see the brush strokes here, the black brush strokes. So I think what I must have done is started at the beginning and then like gone through page by page, and as they go through the brush marks get drier. So on this one, the very first layer are these very dry brush marks, and then it looks like I've done another wiping off paint with the brush with this kind of peachy orange coloured paint, and then it looks like I've come in and done this colour around the edge, a kind of rainbow, and then done this black, this looks like it's acrylic ink again, this design over the top. And then I've come over and done the journaling over the top with pink Posca, which is quite interesting because usually I do the journaling as the first page, and this, because it's pink, it doesn't show up very much, but it just adds a texture in the background. It like sort of sinks into the background even though it's floating over the top. And there's a little bit of biro marks in the background as well. And then I think I filled these in with watercolour. But anyway, I really like this page. I think having this pattern that kind of swoops over really hangs it all together as a spread. So quite like that. Not so keen on this one, but I feel like it's got to the point where it's so overworked I don't want to do any more to it really. I think these are some photos which have been inverted. This I think was, I think it was from a screen printing class that I did, a workshop that I did, and I had this paper with these neon colours that I'd painted somehow, and I just cut it out and stuck it in, but it's on some quite thick paper, so it kind of, yeah, it's quite thick. Yeah, not my favourite page, so we'll move on. This one is, yeah, so the first layer I guess is these scratchy paint things right in the background that you can hardly see. And then I've come in with a wash of something over the top, and then I've done these leaves all over. And again, I think I was, yeah, interested in repeating patterns and kind of things that go all the way across. And then I think I was playing with some new watercolours that I had, and I just filled in these different colours, and then I decided to write things in the leaves. So we've got hope, space, trust, faith, forgiveness, friendship, intimacy and generosity. Yeah, it's quite nice. Yeah, here again I've done these words that are 4 big letters. I think I was trying to think of 4-letter words that I could do this with. I don't know where I got that from. Maybe it was from the I Heart NY, the New York, not flag, but you know what I mean. Yeah, again, I was playing with I think this is oil pastel, and then it resists the paint, so it's quite nice if you do it. I mean, I think it's dried out so much now that I don't think it would act as a resist anymore. But at the time, I came back over with this thinned out wash of this violet colour. And interestingly, it hasn't really resisted. You don't see much evidence of it resisting on this side, but you do on the yellow. So that looks quite nice. And then this is some collaged pieces of paper. You can see that the pen has, is it Posca? Maybe I was using alcohol markers, I don't know, but it's seeped through to the other side. I wonder if it's seeped through on this side. Oh yeah, it's seeped through on this side as well. Interesting. So I don't think that Posca pen would do that, so that must be, maybe it's just a Sharpie actually. Anyway, I quite like the texture that it gives. It's as a bit of a background. So then there must be something here that has meant that it hasn't come through here. I don't know what that is. And here's another 4-letter word. And you can see that the teal has gone over the top and resisted it in parts. So the yellow shines through, but not everywhere. And I think this pinky colour is a fluorescent, maybe it won't show up on the camera, but it's a fluorescent paint. So I think I was experimenting with that because I was, really enjoying that. In the background, you've got here a bit of journaling, you've got some collage, and then this green is a neon as well. So yeah, this must be where I was experimenting with neon colours. And look, here's some bits that have seeped through from the next page again. Oh, but I've covered it up on that side. And then I think I just drew round, or maybe I drew no, I think I just must have traced around my hand. And I think I was reading something about contour lines, and so I was trying to give the hand volume by doing these contour lines. And then there's obviously some blind contour drawings in the background as well. This is another page which I think maybe I overworked it a little bit. This is a picture that I found online and printed it out. So this is not my work, but I like to stick things in my sketchbooks that are inspirational to me. So yeah, this is a picture that I liked, and I think that was the last layer. And this is also a bit of collage here, something that I found, and I cut the middle out, that little bit there. This scribbly thing I think was my daughter drawing. And this actually says persist, which is from the feminists' slogan, nevertheless she persisted. So I wrote that, and that's also oil pastel. But I know, I don't mind this page. But again, I think it is a little bit overdone. I love this one. And this is an example of one that's really loose and not overworked. So this is the kind of thing that I'm always looking for, but I think sometimes I miss the mark, and then I try and fix it, and then by trying to fix it too much it kind of loses its spirit and energy. So I had some paint marks in the background. This here is some fairly thick acrylic paint, and this is grey, and this is like really thick here. So this is all very quickly done. Again, I think just wiping off my brush. And then I've come in, I think this is actually an oil stick. So it's like one of those big chunky oil sticks, and I've just done no in red, which is so striking, and I love that it takes up the whole spread, and it's really simple but really effective, and it really like shouts at you, you know. So I really love this page, and I love that it just was all done with kind of like energy and fierceness, I suppose. This spread, so there's some acrylic ink in the background, and then there's a little bit of blind contour here with some, looks like felt tips maybe. There's a little bit of dry brush work with the teal there. This is a little bit of fluorescent green, so I don't know where that came from, but I must have just like splotted it on. And then I've come back in and done this drawing of, like, this is a bottle of paint and a jar with some paintbrushes in and stuff. Quite interesting because this must have been done a long time ago now, but this isn't blind contour, this is just doing a contour drawing. So I must have been starting to get over my fear of drawing and actually just giving it a go. And I think having this space where I could just experiment. Oh look, it looks like I've actually, sorry, I'm going off topic, but it looks like this is a butterfly print. So maybe I did the acrylic ink on one side and then smushed it together to get a print. Anyway, it's interesting that I started to do some drawing here, and I really like that there's something underneath, so that you've got these contours so you can read that it's a jar with some pens and paintbrushes and stuff in, but it's sort of laid over the top of this interesting background that's going on. And then this is a piece of collage which I must have come in and stuck in a lot later. I think I was maybe being a bit obsessive about this sketchbook, and I was kind of revisiting the pages again and again and again. And I like to leave it open for myself so that I can do that, because then it gives me the sense of freedom that, oh, it doesn't matter if I don't like it, because I can always come in and doesn't have to be finished. I don't need to decide whether this is finished right now. I can just leave it and come back to it later and add things to it. That does take the pressure off, and it allows me to be a lot more free. But I think that sometimes when I'm in the wrong kind of mood, when I'm in a bit of an obsessive sort of mood, I can come back in and just overwork things. That's just all part of the process of learning how to allow yourself to be really free and loose, but then also at the same time not letting yourself worry too much. And if you do overwork something, it doesn't matter too much, you know. Okay, so this is, I think I did the red background first. And then I've done some oil pastel, just written this, and it says, I am enough as I am right here in this very moment. No changes needed to get where I want to be. I just need to keep going in the same direction and do the work. A little pep talk to myself. And then I have come over with this metallic green wash, and so the oil pastel has resisted it, but it hasn't resisted it in all areas, which is interesting. It really has here, and I think that's nice how the orange kind of glows through. So yeah, I actually quite like this spread. Let's talk through all the different layers that we've got going on here. I think this thing in the background, it looks like I've got a squeegee and kind of maybe with some leftover paint, and it's hard to tell. I think, is that over the top of this black line work? I'm not quite sure. I think it is. I think so. The black line work must have been underneath, and it looks like I was drawing some fish. So there's like a fish, another fish there, and there's a little fish there, some more fish. Maybe those were on top of something else, and then I've done the thing with the squeegee. And then we've got this wash here of this kind of pinky colour. And on this side, we've got the fish, we've got some paint work going on. And then I've got some scribbly stuff here, which may be my daughter. Because when I started this sketchbook, she was, I think, 2. So sometimes if she saw me working my sketchbook, she'd want to have a go. So I'd just give her a pen and she'd like... And I actually really like the looseness of the lines that you get from when you have children that young do things. They're just so free, and it's really hard to replicate that as an adult. And so that's what the scribbliness is, I think. I've got these red dots, and maybe that's actually from when I did this wash. Maybe this was a paintbrush with some of that red paint on it, and I've sort of stamped with it. Oh, that's over the top of this white stuff. So this is a Posca pen, I think, and this is a kind of doodle language that I love doing, and I was really into it for a while, where I take shapes from different writing systems. So I went and lived in China for just under a year, and I was trying to learn Chinese, and I was really fascinated with like how you write the characters and the different shapes. And then I also went and lived in India for 4 months, and I was also trying really hard to learn Hindi when I was there. And again, it's got really interesting shapes to all the forms of the, I don't know if you call them letters, but all of the writing. And then, so I just take like little bits, some from like the Roman alphabet, some from the Chinese, some from the Hindi, and other things. Like when I was a kid, I learnt to read music, and that also has different shapes that you use. And then just like kind of doodle those shapes and join them all together, and then you can make it spread across. So that's something that I've done underneath, and actually this is also underneath the red. So this is a similar thing but with a smaller pen, but it looks like white Posca as well. So that's, yeah, that's underneath this red, and then I've done this red and the stamping, and then I've come back with this bright pink Posca. This is all like getting the pen and stamping when you have the, what's it called, like chisel shaped tips, I think. You can just dab it and you get this, and I like the repeating pattern down the edge. It reminds me of, you know, on pages where you have like the little holes cut out along the edge. It kind of reminds me of that. And then this just one single line. I just think it's a really interesting kind of design thing and quite simple. So yeah, I like this spread. Lots of interesting things going on. Okay, this one looks like we've got, again, there's some maybe black dry brushwork in the background, and then there's a little bit of red paint here, So it looks like, and it's hard to tell on here because this is jelly plate collage. This is a piece of paper that I've jelly plate printed and then stuck in over the top. So, but there is some red paint here I can see that looks like it's been put on with a squeegee. And then I've got some pale yellow, but it does look like maybe the pale yellow was done around this kind of window here, because this looks like I've drawn this shape and then this is what was underneath, because you can see the black dry brush marks and this blue paint that kind of carries on here, and it looks like they've been covered over on this part with this pale yellow, but here it hasn't been covered over, so this is kind of like a part that I haven't painted. And then, oh, this is also collage from a jelly plate print, and then this is oil pastel. And then I've come back in with some Posca pens and done some repeat patterns. So this pink web of kind of triangles is Posca, and these little yellow circles are also Posca. And then I quite like this, you know, torn piece that kind of comes across. And I like it. I don't know what made me think to just write nope, but that was obviously what I was thinking at the time, and it's kind of funny, makes me laugh. I don't know that it hangs together as a full spread, but I quite like this side in particular. Okay, this looks like there's lots of acrylic ink. This purple is definitely acrylic ink that I've blown across or dribbled across. This orange is also definitely acrylic ink. And there's some gritty stuff here. So I don't know whether that's salt, because I know I was interested in putting salt onto acrylic ink and then rubbing it off, but it looks like it hasn't been rubbed off, so maybe this is stuck down somehow with some acrylic medium or something. So long ago that I've done all these things that I've kind of forgotten. We've got, here I stuck down 10 rupees that I brought back from India, and you're actually not really allowed to take rupees out of India, but I smuggled it out. So it's kind of funny to stick it in. These are also collage parts. This is some washi tape. And then I've done some Posca pen over the top with these gold circles. I like doing repeating circles and repeating dots. It's something that's quite meditative to do. Yeah, and then I've stuck this in like much more recently, saying auto-destructive art. Yeah, not that keen on this spread, but I feel like if I try and do any more to it, it will definitely be overworked, so I'm just going to leave it. Okay, so this is a bit of a mess. I'm not massively keen on this spread, but I feel like, again, like if I do any more to it, it's going to be overworked. So we've got some blind contour drawings here, this green and this green. I don't know what I was drawing, but I do like the marks, the lines that you get from doing blind contour. This is Posca pen over the top, some dots. And then there's more of this fluorescent paint. This is orange fluorescent paint. And this is acrylic ink, where I've like dabbed it on, and maybe I sprayed it with water actually. Maybe that's what made it kind of run. Yeah, and then I stuck this in saying queer at a much later time. Yeah, no, but that I'm very keen on it, but it's kind of a fun, like, there's a lot of movement going on in it, so that's quite nice. This is kind of quite a mess. There's lots of this blue paint that looks like it's been kind of put on very quickly without much, yeah. Oh, there's also some black marks underneath, so that must have been the first layer, and then the blue. And then it looks like I've done this green, looks like oil pastel. And I've done a tiny bit of drawing here with the white over the top. And then some Posca pen sort of marks dotted around. And then I came and stuck this picture in, which I find really funny. It's an old woman in a wheelchair, and it says, "I hated doing the housekeeping." I just love that. I just love the brightness and the energy of this spread, even though it's kind of a bit of a mess. But I feel like that's kind of, it's in the spirit of what I'm always trying to achieve in here. This one's definitely overworked, I think. There's just too much going on. So this is a map that I've stuck in, and they've got some washi tape here stuck over the top. This is also stuck in, this fluorescent pink and blue. There's like Posca pen everywhere. Then this is a sort of swoosh. And yeah, I think I just got to the point I was like, oh, I don't really want to do any more on this. It's too much. Okay, here we've got some of that fluorescent pink paint in the background. We've got some very rough kind of violet washes and then some gold that I think has been put on with a squeegee. So I really like that as a background, and there's some black brush marks as well. And then it makes a really nice background actually for this contour drawing, which you can hardly see because it kind of melts into the background. This is a contour drawing of a plant, and I've done one in pink here and one in white here. And then these are some little stickers that I've put on. So I feel like this is quite nice for a sketchbook, just kind of, you know, it's got quite a nice energy to it, even though I definitely wouldn't consider it like a finished piece, but for a sketchbook, I think it's kind of cool. And the same with this one actually, like very loose. I like the energy of this. I like the red that's been like painted on like furiously with all these dry brush marks. And then the yellow that's come over the top, or maybe the red has gone over the yellow. It's hard to, no, I think the yellow's gone over the red, and that works really nicely. And then, there's some black brush marks here as well. So yeah, that's a really nice, energetic kind of start. And then I've come and doodled over the top with Posca pen. So I really like this net of triangles, this pink net that's kind of spread over the 2 pages. And then I've added a little bit of washi tape, but I don't know that that adds much to the page particularly. And this is a sticker of a leaf. Yeah, I don't know, I like the feeling of this piece. This is one of my favourite spreads, I think. Yeah, so we've got some rough painting in the background and some line work with like a black fine liner, I think. So I was doing a bit of writing, a bit of that doodling that I was talking about, and then some like washes of thinner, like this teal wash has gone over the top of that. And then on this side, it looks like I had a similar start, although it has got some brighter colours in the background. So maybe I had a different thing underneath on this side, but then I went over it with black. So I drew these kind of flower shapes, I don't know if you can see, and then filled in around them. So the black sits in the background and then the coloured flowers kind of pop out. And then it looks like I've done some yellow contour drawing over the top with a Posca pen, I guess. Posca pens are great because they go over the top of everything. So I think that must have been what I did. So I did some drawing. And then on the final layer, I came in with this green Posca pen and did this triangle net all over. And then I filled in some of them to make them into kind of solid shapes that sit on top. Yeah, I think that the overall effect, well, it's a bit chaotic. I mean, especially I like this side, I think, but I really like it as a spread. Now this is another attempt to do that thing that I did with the no. I really liked it, so I was thinking, well, maybe I could do another one. So I did go, but I don't like this one as much. I think it just doesn't work as well because it's too overworked. Maybe I didn't have as much of a cool, like, energetic background to start with. And I've tried to kind of add things to it with this is collage and these are washi tapes. But I think it's just like, it is what it is. I think it's kind of okay, but not my best spread. Okay, this one, I've got some rough brush marks in the background. I've got some squeegeed paint here. Then there's some gold also. Oh no, the gold has gone over the top of this black Posca, so that must have been a later layer. So I must have written the freedom and then come back over with the gold. And then I've done this bright pink blind contour drawing, which adds some nice line work. And then at a later date, I came and put these flowers, which kind of tie the 2 sides together. Going through this is quite interesting. I'm realising, what I really like on a lot of these pages is the real energetic first layers with the dry brush marks that are kind of like furiously done. So that's giving me an idea of what I should try to do more of in my sketchbooks. Okay, so this one, I think, don't know how I did this. Maybe it was spray paint, this pink, because you get a kind of, yeah, there's like this, yeah, spattery effect that I must have done over something else that had like teal and a bit of writing and a bit of Posca pen. Most of it's obliterated now, but then I drew these bird shapes and filled the background in with this is blue Posca, and I've kind of tried to do it in like a wavy sort of a shape, wavy pattern, so it looks kind of like the sea or the sky. So yeah, I really like this spread actually. And then I had a craft punch, so I punched a hole in it here on the page and here. Here we've got some drawings of the shoebill stork. I don't think they're particularly great, but I was trying to practice drawing and trying to be quite loose about it without, maybe it was like, I'm going to be loose but I'm not going to do a blind contour, because when you do a blind contour it often ends up all higgledy-piggledy and you can't actually see what you're drawing at all. But yeah, and then I've got some quite nice colours in the background. I quite like this one. Okay, this one says, the start. We are messy, complicated beings, making it up as we go, and we are beautiful all the same. Oh, that's a nice message, isn't it? Yeah, it looks like I've had a background and then come over it with something that's kind of covered up a lot of it, but that's maybe not completely opaque, so you can see things through it. Yeah, and this is more jelly plate that I've torn and stuck in, and then these eyes. I'm not sure I'm very keen on this Posca pen thing here, and I don't particularly like the colours in this one, but I think it's kind of cool that it's kind of emotional, you know, like I was obviously trying to get something off my chest here, and I like the eyes, they're very expressive. Okay, this one is like a bit meh, but I was practicing this technique where I had underneath like some other paint, and then obviously the white is where I've done some journaling with a white Posca pen. And then I have this technique where I draw shapes over the top, and here I was doing repeat patterns, and I was starting from the middle and working out to try and make it symmetrical, and then filling in the background to make it feel like these shapes are kind of floating on top. I think there's a more successful one of this version of this later in the sketchbook, but this is one that didn't work quite so well. This is more blind contour on top of painted backgrounds, and I actually really like the simplicity of this spread, and I think I came in and filled in some of the shapes with these solid colours, and I think this is golden. I think it's called So Matte or something. So I was testing it out and I didn't really know what to do, so I was just filling in some of these shapes, but I kind of like that. And also the shape, the colours, the yellows and orange and green echo this side, so then it feels like there's a bit more of a cohesion between the two sides. And I mean, the washi tape really doesn't fit there, but I was obviously having a bit of a washi tape phase. I love the bright pink, and then there's like some doodly things in the background, and then these are drawings of botanical shapes, and then it looks like I've cut out some leaf shapes from jelly plate printed paper and stuck them in, and then done oil pastel over the top. It's not the best spread, but I feel like it's kind of fine as it is, and I don't think I'd want to do any more to it. Now this is another favourite spread. I really like the simplicity of this. It's funny, like the more simple spreads are actually seem to be my favourite. Yeah, so I've got some blue brush marks in the background here. I'm not quite sure how I did that, whether I had two colours on my palette at the same time and kind of did them both together, or whether I did the dark blue and then came over with the lighter blue. I actually can't remember, but anyway, it's a nice background, and then this black shape that kind of moves across. Yeah, it's kind of graphic, but really I like it. It's a shame here the page has stuck together and torn, and I've managed to fix it there, but that's why I've ended up putting these in to protect the pages. Here's another page that is not really my favourite. I feel like it's a bit of a mess. Lots of different layers. This is oil pastel, and then there's been paint put over the top. and then this yellow is Posca. I think this blue line is either, no, I think that was probably my daughter drawing with a Posca pen maybe, or it could have been me just like trying to be really loose. It doesn't look like it's a blind contour drawing. And then I've sort of not really known what to do with this page, so I think then I've come in with the washi tape, and this is a picture of someone else's art journal that I printed off because I thought it was beautiful, and this one as well. So those are just inspirational images, not my work. This was an activity that I think I learnt in a workshop, which was to divide your page into 9 squares and then think of something different to put in each square. So you could draw a picture, so you could do, you know, a tree and a flower and a house or whatever, but in this one I was doing abstract shapes and I was trying to think of different ones that I could put in each one. And then it sort of gives you something to start with. And I really like the background colours. It looks like, I mean, I don't think it was watercolour, it's probably acrylic, but I like how they kind of blend into each other. And then I've just come over the top with Posca and kind of added doodles over the top, and then this leaf sticker. But yeah, it's kind of cool. It's kind of a sketchbooky sort of page. Yeah, I really like this spread, although it's maybe a little bit overworked, but I like how it's kind of ended up. So I can see, first of all, there's a little bit of journaling that's gone on underneath. And on this side, it looks like there was some, you can see these purple and with the pink spots. I think I was using alcohol markers and just kind of doing repeating patterns. And then I think I've come in with a small jelly plate. You can see it here, that the size of that blue there. And I was, you know, doing patterns into the jelly plate and then just kind of using it like a stamp. Oh, but before that, it looks like I have also done that technique where I drew shapes and then filled in the background. So you can see these orange shapes here. And then I've filled in the background with this solid green Posca, but it looks like I only did it on this side. Oh, maybe going over a little bit onto this side. And then I've done the jelly plate stamping. This is also a jelly plate, but this is collaged on. Then I have come in over the top of all of that with some Posca pen and did these kind of like repeated pattern of these leaves kind of falling down, which I quite like. And then this is the same sort of pattern. So I like that there's a bit of continuity with that. And then I think the final thing was this picture of a warty goblin gourd, which I just love because they're just so characterful. And in the autumn, I love drawing them. Yeah, and I think this is a nice, colourful and interesting spread. This is a bit of a boring spread, really. Whatever was going on underneath, and then I did some windows and I filled in the background with this purple Posca, and then outlined everything in gold with the dots. And then I've done like a little bit of a drawing over the top, but it wasn't really sort of hanging together or going anywhere. So then I came in and I stuck this. This was a photo I took, I think it was at Camden when must have been when I was like 18 years old, so this is a long time ago. And I found these photos that I had printed out, so I cut it out and just stuck it in here because it kind of goes with the gold. I kind of like this in a way because it is, again, maybe it's that thing of the very scratchy brushes, which I like, and it's very loose. And then I've come in with the green Posca for some blind contour. So again, like the energy of this spread. And I like the simplicity of this one as well, actually. So again, this is blue paint where I've just roughly done a background. Seems to be a repeating theme in this sketchbook. And then the gold Posca over the top, and this is a bit of washi tape. So yeah, kind of simple, but I quite like it. I'm not sure how I feel about this one, really. This is some map going on here with some journaling and some paintwork underneath. And then I've done the windows thing and filled in a bit of the background, but I haven't done it all over. I've just done it here and here, which actually I think is quite nice. It's a bit of a different way of doing it to how I was doing it before, where it was kind of an all over pattern. And a bit of context for you for that thing is that I was coming to this sketchbook from doing textile work, so I was thinking a lot about fabric design and like patterns I think I mentioned before that I was interested in surface pattern design, but it was specifically around fabric design. So that's why I was always doing an all over thing. But here I was trying a bit more of a compositional sort of thing. And then I was outlining them with oil pastel and being a bit more loose with the outline in comparison to the Posca pen outline that I was doing here, which was very tight. I feel like this is nicer because it's a bit looser. And then much later on, I think I added this washi tape. That is a bit of sticker because of the maps, I guess. And then also this is a piece of collage of, I think it's a close-up of cells, but I think it might be a plant cells. I think that's what it is. I might be wrong. Anyway, I really like it and it kind of fits with this page. Yeah, this is, I quite like this spread. So this is one that I've finished more recently. This is a drawing of, it goes on under here, but I had a collection of stones that have holes in, and I did used to have them displayed over the fireplace. I have them like the smallest one going up to the biggest one. And then I sat and just drew them one day, so I quite like that. And then I had this drawing of a tree, but I think it was just the black outline for a while. Oh, so but first I had this blue Posca pen doodly pattern thing. And then I think it was like that for a long time and I didn't really know what to do with it. So then eventually I was like, I need to develop this page a bit. So I found this green paper that's kind of like, it's not tissue paper, but it's sort of, I don't know what it's called, but it's translucent, so it's quite nice because you can stick it over and it's putting a filter, a green filter over the top. And then I found this piece of jelly plate printed paper, and I can't remember which I did first, but I like how they kind of mirror each other with the tree in the middle. And then finally, I think I came in and developed the tree a bit with the gold and then added these leaf shapes, which were inspired by the stencil that I'd used on the jelly plate, which had this leaf shape in. So yeah, I quite like this spread now. Okay, this is an example of the Posca pen windows method, where I have something underneath and then I do the windows and block in the background. So I did that with the pink and the gold outlines, and then I thought, what would happen if I then did it again? So then I did these larger shapes and filled in the background with the purple and outlined it in this silver, and I really like it. It kind of reminds me of like a shield that you might take into battle, that kind of shape, or like a surfboard or something. I like how they've kind of become these bigger shapes, and so they all look like they're patterned. Anyway, this is kind of like taking it to one level and then doing it again to see what would happen, and I quite like the result. Okay, so here you can see I've done that thing where you divide it into 9, and I've drawn something in each box. So I've done like a cat, a tree, a zigzag, a cloud. I think this was in a workshop, so I was like, you've got 30 seconds. So I just drew like very quickly, and this is drawn with biro, I think. And then I've done some painting over the top. This is jelly plate collage, and then the Posca pen over the top. So it's quite a simple spread, but I quite like it. And this is a good example of that technique where you have the windows peeking into what's going on underneath. So here there's some journaling in the very background with a biro, and then I've done some painting over the top of that. And then I've come in and done the windows and blocked in the purple background, and then I've outlined everything with the silver. And I really like this one. And also this is another one where I started in the middle and like worked out to try and make it symmetrical. But I think the fact that there's this heart right in the middle, and then it looks like it's got all these sort of flames or something coming out of it, I think it works really well as a design. Yeah, I think this is one of my favourite spreads. Also, I just really love the colours. I think the colours work really well together. This is more of that sort of technique, but I've done a different one on each page. Oh, I really love this spread. Okay, so there's definitely some journaling underneath with some biro. I think here I was doing a tarot reading, and I drew like little stick figures of the tarot cards. Anyway, and then I did some painting over the top with green, and it looks like I've taken a daub of paint and then used a squeegee to kind of get these like strong lines, which is a technique I was really into for a while, and I did some pieces on paper in that style. And then I've got some collage, and then I've come in with some white. It might be Posca, it could be some other white gel pen, and just kind of like emphasize these lines. And so because I've done it with a curly line, it makes it look like there's like these things, springs boinging all over the place. So I love the energy and the movement that's in here. And this is also some collage in the background with some Chinese writing. This is another one of those windows kind of techniques, but with black, which I quite like. But I think it isn't as successful as the previous one that I showed you because of the design of the shapes. But I quite like the colours. Okay, it's got a little bit of journaling there, a little bit of paint. This looks like it's done with a roller. And then some black marks and a bit of Posca. Again, like it's a cool sketchbook page, but not really what I would consider like a great example. Here I'm drawing those stones again, look. And I think this is tissue paper that I've stuck on, this yellow piece here. And this purple as well. This is also collaged with the hearts. And then this is a line drawing of a lamp and a plant. So yeah, I quite like this spread. Again, I think it's the looseness of these brushworks and brush marks in the background. I really like this one. So there's journaling in the background, and then I have done some painting over the top with blues, different shades of blue. Then there's this black mark as well. And then this, I've drawn some foliage and then just coloured in around it. So it has that window-like effect, but I haven't like completely covered the whole page. So yeah, I quite like that. And this is a bit of gold leaf. So I think I was just testing it out. And then this is a blind contour, this purple. And I don't know what it is about it, but I feel like it's just a nice spread, a nice sketchbook spread. Here are some more window technique pages. I was really into the hearts at some point. And this says some adult help might be needed, which I thought was cool. Yeah, this is nice. I quite like the spread. I think maybe not this side so much, but I really like this one with the colours. I like this pink with the kind of greens and teals in the background. And then I've put, I think this is gesso, it could be white, that I've put over the top. And it's nice because it knocks back the greens in some areas, but not in others. And then the white is thicker in other places. So I feel like that makes it quite interesting. Yeah, I quite like this spread. This is one of my favourite spreads, I think. And I think it's to do with the colours and also the looseness. So there's definitely some loose brushwork going on here with this blue. I think I had a really big paintbrush at this stage and I was just kind of like trying it out. And I think the orange and yellow in the background is done with a squeegee, like pulling it. And this is actually collaged in. This is some like black fine liner work that I think I'd done another time. And then I think that, so there's obviously a bit of journaling there, which kind of balances out this black line work here. And then this, like, that goes all the way around here, I think that was probably my daughter, possibly. It could have been me, I don't know. There's a little drawing here in fine liner. And then the Posca pens coming over the top just kind of make it all hang together. So I really like that. I like how the colours kind of move around the page and they sort of all, yeah, speak to each other and they all work together. I really like this spread. And I like this spread as well. And this is, oh look, it goes over the edge of the page. So this is more of that same fine liner piece. And this is definitely my daughter's work with the scribbles. So yeah, so that must have been when she was, still really young. I like the colours. So we've got these like magenta, almost like violet-y colours, but there's sort of different levels. So this is quite a mid-pink here. And then this is almost red. This is like more like a wine red. And then this is obviously a sort of magenta-y violet. That could be quinacridone magenta, it could be quinacridone violet, I'm not sure. And then there's some pale pink in the background, which is maybe from like a slightly thinner wash. And then we've got the yellow coming back in over the top. And obviously yellow and purpley colours complement each other. So that works really well. And I think this was a textured roller that I had. So I really like how that works over there. And then it just really works with this teal Posca pen over the top. And I like, because I like doing these doodly sort of things, but I like how here it's kind of not all over, but like these little bits that kind of make it work as a composition and kind of move your eye around the whole spread. Okay, so this one I think I finished much more recently, and I've just put a post-it note over my daughter's name. So we did a drawing, so she drew me and I drew her. So it says daughter by mummy, mummy by daughter, and and it was kind of sweet, and I left it like that for a really long time. But considering, like, compared to all the other pages in this book, I felt like it was a bit unfinished. So I just came in with some watercolour. I think I was testing out like different mixes, and I think it's quite nice because I can still see the picture that's there underneath, but it gives it a bit more colour to it as a spread. And same on this page, so we both drew Daddy. So this was my picture. I think maybe she did this scribble, I don't know. But anyway, it's a kind of scribbly picture of my husband. And then she did this drawing, and I said to her, "Where's Daddy?" And she said, "Oh, that's him. He's really far away." Which was brilliant. Yeah, and then I came in and did some colour mixing, swatching over the top. This, I just had to keep it as it is because it's so funny. So I'll just turn it like this. So this was a drawing that my daughter did, and it kind of goes, hopefully it's all in shot, but it goes all the way down, and it says monster spotty snake. And then, oh, so this was a picture she did, I said, "Oh, what's that?" And she said, "Oh, that's my team," because she used to have an imaginary team, which is just amazing. And I said, "Oh, what are your team called?" And she gave me all the names. So it says Jilly, Chocolate, Arthur, Flower, Max, Seavismar, Glue Stick, Bottle and Rose. And that's her team names. And then she said, "The team vanished next to me behind the curtain. Then there was a letter saying I love you and I want you to have my team." Just like such a cool little memory. So I'm definitely keeping that. Yeah, I quite like this spread as well, although it's quite messy in the background, but I think it's kind of fine. Got some of that fluorescent red, got some yellow paint, and then some kind of scribbly things, a bit of journaling. And then the blue, which kind of I think was inspired by this spread. I did a similar thing here with the blue Posca. So I think that works quite well. And this one was definitely inspired by rainbows. This is a card that my mum gave me for my birthday or something. My mum is also an artist, and so she handmade me this card. And yeah, I feel like my sketchbooks are quite a nice place to keep things like this, like inspiration or, you know, beautiful things like this. And then I think I was inspired. I don't know whether maybe I stuck this in. I must have stuck this in afterwards because the rainbows go underneath. So I think I was, yeah, playing around with rainbows. And then this seemed like a good place to stick that. And I think as we get to the end of the sketchbook, there are a lot more kind of inspirational images that I've stuck in, but that's okay. So this is a picture that I had on my childhood bedroom wall. I think someone must have given it to me as a birthday card or something, or maybe I bought it, I can't remember. But, you know, it just shows that I was really into art even back then. So I had it on my wall as a teenager, even though I absolutely hate soft pastels now because I can't stand the feeling of them on my hands. But yeah, I really like this picture, so I thought I'd stick it in here. And this, I think, was testing out some the Neo Colour 2s, the water-soluble crayons. And this is kind of simple, but I quite like it. I went to the park one day and I was drawing some tall, grassy reeds. And I just did, maybe it was even blind contour, I can't remember, but I really like the kind of the movement and the energy and the feeling in this piece. And then I found this piece of washi tape, which is almost exactly like the drawing that I'd done. So I put that in there. Yeah, so it's quite simple, but I think it's quite nice. So this is it was in the depths of winter and I was feeling really depressed. So I was telling myself, this too shall pass, again with the 4 letters. Now, this says to me that, like, I don't really like this, but I think it's because of the lettering. And I would really like to get better at doing lettering so that I actually do like that I can do something like this with beautiful letters. Because I love, you know, like in my doodles, I use writing systems as an inspiration. So I love the shape of letters. Yeah, I just think, you know, it's a bit all over the place. The letters are all different sizes. It's a bit of a mess, but, you know, and hey, it doesn't matter too much. And again with this one, so I wrote spring will return to warm heart. But again, it just tells, all I can think of when I look at this is that I don't like the lettering and I wish I could do better lettering than that. And I still haven't actually spent time learning how to do good lettering. So that's something I want to do at some point. I quite like this one. I think that the colours all work really well together. Lots of aqua kind of colours, and so that's why I put this wave and sea piece of washi tape in, and this blue flower also kind of fits with it. Now this is a technique I really love doing. So I started out with some journaling underneath, and then I've done the red paint with the squeegee, and I did it on both sides. I must actually, before I did the red paint, I think I must have put some gesso over everything to knock the writing back a bit, because I can tell on this side it's also knocked back. And then I did the red paint, and then here I drew, so I was telling you about the warty goblin gourd and how I love drawing these like weird lumpy bumpy pumpkins. So this was one of the times that I did a still life with the pumpkins. So you can tell here I've got a lot more confident with drawing. So this is, you know, I've moved on quite a lot here. And this is by the time we'd moved to Amsterdam. So this must have been, you know, at least 2 years after I started this sketchbook, maybe even longer than that. But anyway, so I drew the outline of the pumpkin. Then I came in with gesso and I kind of did a sort of a veil of gesso all around it, so that these would kind of be brighter and sit more in the foreground, and that the background would kind of recede. So this is a technique that I love using. And then I came in and did more over the top of these, I think with some fine liners. So yeah, I'm really happy with this actually. And on this side, this is some washi tape, and this is a piece of collage. So I really like this as a spread. And I also really like this as a spread. So that, yeah, this is some collage, but again, I think I was maybe thinking about, I want to be better at lettering, and so I was looking into like learning cursive. And this is something that there's some sort of machine where you can type in a thing that you want to have come up, and it shows you it with the lines. And I was also at this time, it's around the time that I did my painting called Hope on the Horizon. So I was really thinking a lot about hope. So yeah, that's where that comes from. And then a bit of journaling in the background, some gesso. And this, I think, was a blind contour drawing, and then, you know, some red paint over the top. And then there's some gold. So I've done like some gold like spattering on this side, and then there's a little bit of gold paint on this side. And then this is the shoebill stalk. So this is a picture that I found on the internet and printed off. And I just absolutely love shoebill stalks. I love drawing birds, but I think the shoebill stalks are just so weird and so cool. They're like dinosaurs. And yeah, I think it's nice how it kind of balances out, like this kind of almost monstrous sort of thing with its claws like this, and then hope on this side. Okay, I'm not going to sort of linger on this, but I was writing a manifesto, an artist manifesto, and also I was thinking about writing a book. So this is like a diagram where I was thinking about different themes I could have in my book. And I was really thinking a lot about climate change at this time. So it's a lot of like, you know, I was thinking, I should be zero waste, but I kind of wrote this down, like, don't worry about being zero waste unless this is what lights you up. Do what you have the ability or energy to do. And also like, reduce plastic by cooking more, shopping differently. You don't have to earn your place on the planet. You are a miracle and worthy of life by having survived this far already. Because I think I was feeling a lot, this is when my depression gets bad, I end up thinking a lot about how I'm just using up energy by being alive, and it kind of makes me feel guilty. So I was kind of trying to tell myself that actually it was okay. And this is, I was writing about depression here as well. So maybe I was feeling kind of depressed at this time, I don't know. And then I came back over the top and did some swatching, but that was more recently. Yeah, I really like this actually, this white and black. And I really like this blind contour, and maybe it's not blind, but this contour drawing of a plant. I like the fact that the background is kind of bold and bright. And yeah, I think I was interested in this idea of drawing like something that looks like a ribbon and have it like seem to cross over itself with how you draw the outline. So that's what I was doing there, but I really like it. And this is one of the pages that I finished really recently because I went to the zoo and I drew this, I think it's an iguana, and I drew it with this like bright yellow, like fluorescent yellow fine liner, so you could hardly see it on the page. And I didn't want to go over it because I actually quite liked the drawing that I'd done. So very recently I decided, okay, I need to do something with this page, and I decided I'd just fill in the background so that this drawing kind of stands out. Yeah, and again, this is when I was really thinking a lot about climate change. So it says, when I think about how uncertain the future is, I feel deeply unsettled. And there's like a lot about climate change in the journaling here. And then I've got the picture of the earth, so that kind of fits. And then this is like pieces of plastic that someone has found. I think it was from an article where they had someone who would like go around and collect these little bits and then like lay them out and almost like specimens. And I thought it looked kind of cool and arty, but also, you know, it's saying something about climate change and waste and everything. So I really like this spread, and I like the yellow Posca because I feel like it balances out the yellow on this side. So I feel like the colours work really well, and as a composition it works quite well. Yeah, and I really love this spread as well, and it's very simple. Yeah, so I think the pink Posca, and there's obviously some brush work that's very, very loose, a very dry brush obviously. I think I was like trying to get the Posca pen to work maybe, so I was like, you know, that's why I was like doing this, and I have like these bits of where it kind of like splots out loads of ink all at once. So that was something where obviously I'd been working earlier in the book and I just turned to a page near the back and kind of, but it makes a really nice, interesting background. And then you've got these fine liner marks in the background. So then I've kind of just collected inspiring things here. These are stickers, I think, but they look like old tickets. I think this is also a sticker. And then this is a piece that I found online and I loved it. And you can tell that it's sort of my thing because it's this very loose style. And then also this is something I cut out of a magazine. And I think what I really like about this is the composition and how there's this kind of like jigsaw piece of how the different bits are laid down, and then there's how the pink kind of like moves throughout the page. So very simple, but I really, really like this spread. Yeah, and I also really love this. So I think these were from 2 separate articles that I found in a magazine. So they're both things that I've cut out of a magazine. This one says, love me, hate me, play with me. And then this is something else, but I felt like they went really well next to each other, and they fit so well in this size of sketchbook. So that was kind of inspiring. This is a contour drawing of a vulture from the zoo, and I've actually painted over most of my contour drawings from the zoo because a lot of the time you start drawing and then the animal moves, and so you have to like start drawing something else, at least in the way I usually draw animals at the zoo. But I actually quite liked this one, so I thought I could keep it, and it feels like they're kind of playing off each other. This is an inspiring image that I found online and just printed off. So there's quite a lot of this, like I find something really inspiring and then it's almost like a scrapbook sort of thing, you know, I want to, as an inspiration, so I'll print it off and stick it in my sketchbook. There's the same here. This is something inspiring that I found on the internet. This blue was some paint in the background, and then I feel like they work quite well together because of the spots. This is a picture from like a National Geographic or something, and she's making bread, I think. And yeah, because of the blue in the background and the blue spots, and then yeah, it all seems to work quite well together, so quite like that. Here's 2 more inspiring images. This is another one that I had on my bedroom wall as a teenager. Yeah, my love of paint and like art materials goes way back. And then this is something I found online and printed off, and it echoes this purple paint that's in the background here. yeah, this is another thing, inspiring piece. I think I found that in a magazine actually. And then I felt like it went well on this page because this was already here. You can see actually there's a drawing underneath that's from the zoo, from when I was trying to draw the vultures, and it was just like one wing, so I painted over it. But I think, yeah, I must have had a big brush and had lots of different colours all in like one brush, and I actually really love how that came out. So that then I was inspired by the colours in here. I felt like it went well. I think I put this in after I'd done the painting, so I felt like it fit well here. And then this is something I found online and printed off and cut out. I think this is the last page that I actually finished in this book. So for a long time it was just this is Brusho powder, the spots. So you can like just tap a little tiny bit and you get like these little specks, and then you can spray it with water and you get this really cool effect. And I think there's also some drawing here underneath from going to the zoo, and then I think it was like that for a long time. And then I had this yellow tissue paper. This is some writing, it's a writing form, I don't know which one, I think it might be Maori, something like that. So I printed that off and stuck that on as well. It's just like interesting texture. And then I came over the top, I think this is oil pastel, and I think the gesso was already there. Anyway, so that was it for a long time. And then I was given a painting by my sister-in-law of a shoebill stork and it was by this artist, and when it was sent to me in the post, she also sent this card with it. So the shoebill stork is drawn in this kind of style, and I just love it. So I was really inspired by the picture and I wanted to save it. So I stuck it in here because I felt like it went well with the colours. And I think this yellow here is actually where the tissue paper has kind of transferred some of its colour. So yeah, so it was like that for a long time, and I just like, it just doesn't feel like it's really finished. And so recently I decided, okay, I need to do something to just like finish it off. And I found this mask face. I've been looking through Wikimedia Commons recently and other places where you can get copyright-free images to print them off to use in collage, because it's kind of okay when you're using things from like National Geographic or from magazines or whatever, from things that you've printed off the internet that aren't copyright free, if you're just doing it for personal use for in your sketchbook or whatever. But if I want to sell any work, so I'm trying to find more copyright free images, and this is something that I found. So I printed this off and cut it out, and I felt like it kind of echoes the face of the owl quite well. And then I found this piece. I have a tray with like lots of little text snippets in it, so this was one that I found in there, and I felt like it went quite well with the colours and stuff. So it says, a lack of shame can be a powerful resistance. And then I felt like the composition kind of worked quite well after that. And I think we're getting near the end. This is another thing that I printed off, inspirational image, as well as this whale. And this is acrylic ink with salt. And again, you can see a little bit of contour drawing from the zoo. I've kind of just gone over the top. And yeah, I feel like it works well with the colours in this one. This was one that I very recently finished, and it's a bit, you know, you have to put your sunglasses on for this. So yeah, this is like some work that I did underneath with like bright colours and then blue Posca pen. And then I decided to do the window method, but I went through a phase of doing it with fine liner. So then you get like much smaller, intricate little shapes. And I think this was inspired by this thing here. And so yeah, I just sort of like half finished it. You may be able to see that there's different kinds of black. Anyway, I'd kind of done a part of it and I was like, okay, I just need to sit down and finish it. So that's one of the things I did to finally finish off this sketchbook. Here we've got some more contour drawing things from the zoo where it's not really been successful. So I came back over and did some swatching. Oh, I love this one. So this is the purple and blue, were obviously just, you know, rough painting that I did. And then I found this beautiful photo of a tree frog, and I just felt like, oh, it fits perfectly on this page. You know, the little frog is the same colour as the blue. This was some stickers that I had, which I felt like it went quite well, and this also has like purple and blue in it, so that went quite well. And then this is a post-it note, and it's so sweet. My daughter's friend was here and they had a fight, and then they wrote this note to each other. So one of them wrote, sorry about the thing, and the other one wrote back, it okay. which I just think is adorable. And, you know, the colours go really well, so. Like, keeping memories as well. This was a very recently finished piece. I think I had this photo, this is an inspirational photo. I love vultures, I just love how they're kind of, you know, all the folds and everything, and they're just like really cute, really interesting, cool birds. I love how they're kind of denigrated and like, you know, they're seen as like these baddies, but actually they're a crucial part of the ecosystem and beautiful birds. So anyway, that was an inspirational image. And then this is a picture that my daughter drew for me recently. So it's like a rainbow bird, which I think is lovely, and it's like a sky with 2 stars in it. And I think she got bored of filling in the background, so I just put a note like that she drew this for me in 2024. And this is something I just found in a magazine, which I kind of thought was cool. This is actually a photo that I took when I was, I think I must have been 15 or 16, I think 15 or 16. It's a photo of my own hand, and I had it up on my wall in my teenage bedroom. So a lot of these images that I found that were on my wall in my teenage bedroom, I think I found them while I was going through looking at stuff, and I was like, oh, what am I going to do with these? So I kind of came and like stuck them all in here as a place to kind of keep them safe, and also just like keep the memories. I had a Swatch watch and I was really into these like beaded bracelets and stuff. Anyway, it's just kind of funny picture of my own hand. Yeah, this is an interesting one. So I did some journaling in the background, obviously, and then this message, stay on the path, was I did a shamanic style guided meditation where you go and you like ask your higher self for a message, and the message that I got was stay on the path. So I wanted to record it, and so that's what I did here. And again, I just look at it and I think, oh, I wish I was better at lettering. I was kind of just trying my best, but I haven't done any really formal training about lettering, so I think, you know, it shows. And maybe, I don't know if it was autumn, but I think the fact that there's this orangey colours in the background, it seemed to suit these autumn leaves, and so yeah, I'm kind of like swirling around. It's quite nice. Here's another place where I've been thinking about an artist manifesto. So things like, I must make art to stay sane. Art is a crucial part of humanity. And I think this is because at the time I was feeling like I'm making art and that's not helping with like climate change, you know, and feeling like I don't even know if this is really worth doing. And so I was kind of like trying to help myself by sort of telling myself like, no, I need to make art. It helps me stay sane. It's a crucial part of humanity. And like, all of that is stuff that I've really internalized now, but I think I really needed to kind of tell myself that a lot at the time. This was a bit of journaling, and this was maybe one of the last pages that I did because I wanted to cover up whatever I'd written here. So I did some gesso, and then these, so I was trying out different kinds of Prussian blue for a project. So I've got like acrylic, I've got acrylic ink, I've got some watercolour ink, and then I was trying out making these kind of things to see how they would react. This was the watercolour ink. I cut some of these out, these circles out, and just stuck them over the top. This was some collage that I did, and it was supposed to just be a background, but then I liked it too much and I couldn't bear to paint over it. So yeah, I was like finding like ephemera and things. This is stuff that I'd done with fine liners, music sheets, things like that. They were all supposed to be neutral so that they'd be background textures, but then when I'd finished it, I just loved it, so I left it like that. And there's a little bit of gold leaf here, and then this is something I cut out. I thought it was cool. It says, that bloom of youth. I think this is maybe the final page that I did recently. This is an inspirational post. This is a postcard that I got from going to a museum one time, and I just love it, and I've had it for years. So it's by an artist called Alexander J. Barr. Yeah, I think I stuck this butterfly in recently. I think what's it called? Pushkin, the cat. That sticker had been there for a while, and that. But yeah, it felt like it was unfinished, so I stuck that in, and then I made this poem from my cutouts, and it's like an intuitive poem process. So it says, Rose, look at all those colours. I want to feel more. How do I feel more? First plant the seeds, the food of love, making art. On this sun-baked plain, spring is on the horizon. The door's always open. I really like that. And this was one I did recently when I was trying to finish everything up as well. So a lot of this stuff was already here, but I added this picture of the kind of the different doorways and this sand, which I kind of think is cool. And this was a snippet of text that I really liked. Did the sea call her by name? This was a piece that my daughter had made for me. This was when she was a lot younger, but she like stuck strips of washi tape and then cut them up into these little strips. It's kind of cool. And this was one of these copyright-free images that I'd found, so I thought that character went quite well there. So my camera died, so I'm filming this later, but hopefully the light is still fairly much the same. And we're nearly at the end now. Yeah, this spread is actually one of my favourites because I really love how this octopus, which is a sticker, has the same pattern as the pattern that I did all over with the Posca pen. So yeah, it's kind of funny. And this spread I was playing with spirograph because I used to really love doing spirograph when I was a kid. I decided to buy myself a set as an adult. And this was just me messing about, and then I found this sticker which kind of has this botanical illustration on it. It kind of reminded me of these spirographs. So yeah, this is kind of a sketchy page, but I think it's okay for a sketchbook. These are two more inspirational images that I think I printed off the internet. And this is the last page in this book. I really love this spread. For a really long time it was just this painted background with the Posca pens. I think it's like the white Posca pen and then the black one. And then I found these pictures in the National Geographic, and I thought it actually worked really well having them like this because it kind of looks like they're speaking to each other and this is their speech kind of travelling through the air. So yeah, really cool. And then that's the last page in the whole book. So yeah, I'm going to finally call this sketchbook finished after like 8 years. Yeah, 8 years. It's been a faithful friend to me this whole time, but I feel like I'm ready to move on now. So I hope you've liked this sketchbook tour, and if you did, give me a thumbs up, and hopefully see you on the next video. Okay, bye!